This is the weekly review for the week of October 24th to the 28th, as well as this week's Sunday preparation. So, for Euro coming into the week, I had a bullish bias because we had this bullish SMT last week with the dollar index. And then on Friday, we had this clear displacement up breaking market structure. So I was looking for an entry on Monday inside this breaker and fair value gap here. Um, and I thought that Monday was going to make the low of the week because we had the um, multiple high impact news for Euro on Monday. Um, so most of that ended up coming true. Um, but honestly, the high impact news for Euro on Monday was pretty lackluster. And we swerved the discount of this price swing by a few pips. So I wasn't able to get my entry here, unfortunately. But I did note that there was a mentorship setup on Monday anyway. Where we had this SMT with the interim session low with GU, and then we had this displacement up, came back down into the fair value gap in discount, and then we had another institutional order flow entry drill entry here after another leg of displacement up. But I didn't touch these just because price never came down into this higher time frame discount, um, which I wanted to see. So that was all I noted for Monday. And then Tuesday, I was still looking for bullishness, and I saw these equal highs here from the high made on Sunday and the Asian session high. And also I noted the premium and discount of previous day's range. So I was still looking for a continuation of bullishness. And we had this SMT raid here with London low. Also inside a H4 fair value gap. And basically, I was waiting here for the setup, the mentorship setup to form. I saw that we were in accumulation, so I was anticipating expansion to come next. But the expansion came, but we never got a setup to form here, so um, there was no way to capitalize on this move up, unfortunately. But the bias was still correct. Now, Wednesday, Wednesday there were no clear opportunities for me. So I thought that coming into Wednesday we were going to have consolidation because we had this huge range expansion on Tuesday. And I thought that this intra-month high, um, this was the high that was made earlier in October. This one right here. I thought that was going to be left to be taken on Thursday, and we would just consolidate Wednesday after this big move. But then London also had a big leg of expansion. Um, and we did come down into this fair value gap here, taking out the interim session low. We didn't have an SMT, and then we sort of had a mentorship setup here, but this was kind of sloppy. Um, I would have much rather wanted to see a much clearer displacement, something like this. So Wednesday there was really, unfortunately, nothing to take advantage of. Um, then on Thursday is when we kind of had this reversal. We made we had a SMT with the high all the way back here in September, this high right here, and we went up to offer buy side to this inefficiency here, where we offered sell side here, and we came all the way up to offer buy side. And it was also inside a daily and 4-hour fair value gap. So I saw that coming into the New York session, we had this bearish price action in London with this higher time frame SMT and then this Asia high SMT, and we broke structure here, came back up to this fair value gap, and then here we had this new displacement leg, but we didn't come back up into premium. And then this, I don't even know what happened here, to be honest with you. We ended up respecting this M30 fair value gap and a H1 order block here, but honestly, I didn't really know what was going on here. This was like a seek and destroy. That's what ICT was posting on Twitter. So I pretty much just stayed out of this, and then on Friday, we just had consolidation. So honestly, this really wasn't the best week. This here was super clear, but of course the entry got swerved, so I couldn't take that. But yeah, in terms of next week, I'm honestly still a bit confused for Euro. S&P looks much cleaner and clearer, but it looks like we have a potential top forming here with this SMT and then a swing high being formed. The only thing I don't really like is the displacement down. This is not really the displacement that I want to see. And I think that S&P is going to go higher. So I'm not sure if I trust this as a top for Euro. The only thing that I'm noting is this daily range that we formed here, and we could potentially dip down into this daily order block. Right now we're in this daily fair value gap, but it's in premium. So honestly, I'm not too sure if I'm going to touch Euro next week because US 500 looks much clearer, because we want to retrace back up into this premium of this weekly range with the weekly order block here and the daily fair value gap. So I noted the swing trade here on US 30, and I ended up getting stopped out on that. For some reason, US 30 is insanely bullish, and we took previous month's high. But for US 500 and US 100, we still have yet to take previous month's high. So we have a monthly bearish SMT, and I think that this week is going to be the deciding week for the higher time frame direction, if indices are going to end up rolling lower, because we have the FOMC news for the rate change on Wednesday, and then we have NFP on Friday. So there's going to be a lot of crazy volatility this week. But I noted how on this move up, we have a bullish. The daily chart is bullish because we're respecting these PD arrays. But when you withdraw to the weekly chart, we're only just coming into a premium of the weekly range. So even though this fair value gap got closed above, this weekly fair value gap was in discount, or most of it was. So this doesn't really change my bearish bias overall. Get that off the weekly. So yeah, if we end up, if all the indices, because I said last week I wasn't anticipating this high to be broken because we were going to be bullish, but now I see that we could just have that as a SMT. But if all indices end up breaking the previous month's high, I think that that is going to be bullish. So, and then just a couple things to note, because I was paying more attention on the low time frame to S&P this week since it was much clearer. We had two setups here during London. I mean during New York session. So we had a SMT with this like Sunday high, but this wasn't really a significant high. And we broke market structure down here and had this fair value gap. So we ended up forming a bearish mentorship setup, right? But because my weekly bias was bullish, I really wasn't buying this. And then just at the same time that that bearish setup formed, we also ended up having a bullish setup where NAS took the London low here. So we had a failure swing with S&P. And then on the M3 chart, we had this setup, which I ended up taking on demo. Coming back up into this M3 fair value gap in discount here. So this setup was super clean for me since we had that session low SMT, then clean and clear displacement up in line with the weekly bias. So yeah, I like that. And then let's see if there was anything. Tuesday there was nothing. And then Wednesday I came in here as well, just like Euro, expecting consolidation because we had this huge range expansion up. And yeah, I wasn't expecting this move at all. But we did have two setups here. London high raid with SMT. This one was super clean. And I took this one on demo as well. Clean and clear displacement down, coming back up to these fair value gaps in premium of the displacement range. So that was super nice. And then we also had, I noted, I didn't take this one. This was an institutional order flow entry drill entry. On this M5 fair value gap. It did end up playing out to the 1.3R TP. So entering in right here, and then it moved down, and you would have taken or gotten your TP, and then it came back up and hit what would have been your stop loss. But this one I noted in my journal that it was a more risky trade than the setup coming off of the London high raid. So I think the logic was still good here because we were in consolidation, and then it was just after 9:30 we had this huge expansion up. But yeah, the logic was that I was anticipating consolidation, and I was looking for these equal lows to potentially be ran. Um, but again, I just always wanted to take that TP at 1.3R. So I still think that setup was a good setup. And then Thursday was that seek and destroy profile, and this was another good learning opportunity that I screenshotted and actually printed it out to put in my journal. So initially I thought that this was going to be the high of the week, right? Because we had I believe it was a bearish SMT here. Just need to look in my journal. Yeah, we had an SMT with previous day's high. Now the thing was, we didn't get a significant break in market structure here, right? That would be the significant low, but there was no clean and clear displacement before the RTO, right? We want something like this move down here, right here, right, to be breaking that market structure and then coming back up to this fair value gap. But this was one of those seek and destroy market profile days. And we had the setup form here. With a raid of, or a failure swing with previous day's high, where US 30 took previous day's high, and then right here we had that setup, right? With the fair value gap in premium. So I shorted this, but the thing was that we were also coming off of a raid of previous day's low here with SMT as well. And then we formed, after hitting stop loss, we cleaned out these equal highs. So this was certainly a condition that I shouldn't have been trading in, because we had triple equal highs basically above price, and above my stop loss, even though my stop loss was right above the fair value gap high. And in addition to that, we had a bullish raid with SMT. So the most logical play would have been to just wait for these highs to be taken, because this looks like bait. They're just engineering liquidity above and below the market. But then, unfortunately, there was no RTO into premium after those equal highs were taken. Right. So on the M3, super clean displacement, something I would have been interested in taking, but we never came back up into the fair value gap in premium here. So I annotated this Thursday price action really well and printed out a screenshot, because I think that this is a very good learning opportunity and it was super salient. And then For Friday, there was also another good setup and learning opportunity. So that was we had on Friday. Probably the 1 hour. So I was thinking that Wednesday was going to be the high of the week because we formed a swing high here by Friday. But and also we had a SMT. But at the same time, right? What was the daily doing? The daily retraced down into discount of this range, and it hit a daily order block here. And in addition to that, we had a bullish SMT, right? So starting trading on on Friday, we're basically in no man's land. There's no bias, right? We have evidence of bullishness and bearishness both on the higher time frame. And what should have been a much better tip off is that there's no PD arrays here that are super clean, right? I came into Friday looking at this fair value gap, right? I kind of had a myopic vision, right? Because I just kind of I'm favoring S&P to go down, and once I saw this swing high and SMT form, my bias kind of like cemented, and I was pretty much ignoring everything bullish, and I was just looking at this fair value gap, right? That's the only clean and clear PD array in here. This is just literally chopped. There's nothing in here, right? But this PD array is not even in premium, right? No matter what from the swing, right? It's not in premium. So I should not have been focusing on that. And then once we had this displacement up here at 8:30 and 9:30, right? This was the 8:30 displacement, and then this was the 9:30 displacement, and we had this institutional order flow entry drill here in discount. This was the cleanest setup, and by the time this entry came here at 10:10, it should have been clear that the bias for Friday was bullish, because again, even though we had both evidence on both sides on the higher time frame for bullishness and bearishness, with this displacement up, breaking market structure here, there's nothing in here that, no PD arrays here that are going to stop price. So previous day's high is the only PD array that should have been on the menu. There's no fair value gaps, order blocks, there's nothing in here. So this entry right here on this wick, that was the M5 entry, this should have been a crystal clear entry to take with the draw on liquidity being previous day's high. Anything above that, I wasn't anticipating. I would have never anticipated this to be taken. But in hindsight, the draw on liquidity for Thursday high with this entry, that was super clear. That should have been super clear. So yeah, that was S&P, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on this week. So we'll see what ends up happening if we end up getting a mentorship setup inside these high time frame PD arrays in premium. And then in terms of the beginning of the week, I think we just need to wait for the open, because price literally didn't retrace at all from the previous week's high. So we didn't form a dealing range. I'm anticipating we're going to take this daily high and then form some type of dealing range, and maybe have these fair value gaps end up becoming in discount and then move up. But again, going to need to wait for Sunday's opening and maybe even Monday price action to play out to see if we can form a range on the H1 and H4. So yeah, we'll see how this ends up playing out this week.